It's considered one of the rarest modern treasures in American coin history, and it could be sitting in your pocket right now, the 2018 Apostle Islands quarter. Minted in Philadelphia ordinary, until it wasn't, because one tiny mistake, one nearly invisible flaw, turned this coin into a $1 million phenomenon. Collectors were shocked, dealers scrambled, and one unsuspecting man walked into a gas station with change in his pocket, only to later discover he was holding a life-changing treasure. And why is this particular 2018 quarter, the one with the delicate image of sea caves and kayaker, now worth up to $1.8 million? Let's dive into a story that shook the foundations of modern coin collecting, and might just change your life. It began like any other release. The Apostle Islands quarter, part of the America the Beautiful series, was quietly minted and released into circulation in early 2018. Tens of millions were made. Most slipped through hands unnoticed, tossed into cash registers, forgotten in drawers, dropped on sidewalks, but buried among them was a mistake. A subtle, almost imperceptible minting error that transformed a few of these coins into the holy grail of modern quarters. One man, a retired fisherman from Wisconsin, found his in a roll of quarters he picked up from his bank. He nearly spent it, but something felt off. The edges were too sharp. The surface shimmered strangely, and then, with a magnifying glass, he saw it. A double strike right on the kayaker's paddle, a rare die clash that created a ghostly echo, barely visible, but unmistakably real. This wasn't a normal quarter, this was a minting anomaly, a phantom imprint from a mechanical misfire deep inside the Philadelphia Mint. He sent it in for grading, and when the results came back, experts were floored. MS68. Flawless condition. A verified mint error. Estimated auction value? $1.2 to $1.8 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The news broke quietly, just whispers at first, then rumors, then frenzy. Collectors stormed banks, begging for sealed rolls of 2018 Apostle Islands quarters. eBay listings exploded, coin dealers began offering thousands just for a chance to examine a possible error coin. People searched under couch cushions, inside old coffee tins, in coin jars that hadn't been opened in years, because the odds were dizzying, but not impossible. The mint had no official record of the error. No known mintage numbers, which meant any 2018 Apostle Islands quarter in circulation could be one of them. This time in Florida. A retired schoolteacher found it in a parking meter return slot. She thought it looked odd, saved it, and later sent it in. Same error. Same ghost strike, this time? Auctioned for $1.5 million. 2 coins. 2 people. 2 ordinary lives changed forever, and experts believe there could be up to 10 of these error coins still unaccounted for. What exactly makes this quarter different, and how can you tell? Because this is where it gets real. You need to look closely at 3 things. It must be a 2018 P, meaning it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Examine the kayaker's paddle. On rare versions, you'll see a faint doubling, like a shadow behind the paddle. This is the die clash, the mechanical error that occurred when 2 dies struck each other without a planchet between them. While even damaged versions can sell for thousands, the true $1 million coins are near pristine. Look for full luster, sharp edges, no visible wear. ANMS 66 or higher is where the price skyrockets, but most people miss this next detail, and it could be the difference between $20 and $1.80 million. There's a secondary clash, just above the kayaker's head. It looks like a wisp, a blur, almost like a printing smear, but it's not damage. It's the ghost of the obverse design, a trace left from the coin's front side slamming the back die too hard. If you see it, don't clean the coin. Don't touch it. Don't even breathe on it. Get it into a protective sleeve. And call a certified coin grading service immediately, because once verified, you're holding history. Some say these coins are modern myths, others say it's just hype, but the auction houses aren't lying. The checks have been cashed, and the people who found these rare quarters, they weren't dealers, they weren't experts, they were just lucky. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. One woman's curiosity turned into a retirement she never thought she'd have. You might already have one. In your car. In your purse. In that old pile of coins you've been meaning to sort through, because the Apostle Islands quarter is still out there, still hiding, still waiting. So next time you hold a 2018 quarter with a P mint mark, take a second look, because this exact coin, the one people call the ghosted kayaker, could be worth up to $1.8 million, and it could be sitting in your drawer right now. This quarter almost went unnoticed, tossed into a vending machine, slipped into change at a gas station. But then, one man took a closer look, and what he found changed his life forever, because this isn't just any Washington quarter, this is the 1967 no-mint mark Washington quarter dollar, and in one jaw-dropping auction, it sold for nearly $1.90 million. There might be more of them still out there, sitting quietly in drawers, forgotten in jars, passed off as ordinary. Collectors call it a miracle coin, and if you're not checking your quarters, you could be missing out on the discovery of a lifetime. Back in 1967, the U.S. Mint was under pressure. The country was facing a coin shortage. Silver had just been removed from dimes and quarters. Mint employees were working overtime. Quality control was stretched thin, and in the chaos, something extraordinary slipped through the cracks. It looked like a regular quarter at first glance, no mint mark, standard design, but under closer inspection, it was anything but ordinary. What makes this 1967 quarter worth millions? It starts with a mysterious minting error that wasn't discovered until decades later. Some experts believe these coins were struck on the wrong planchet, a leftover from earlier silver quarters. Others point to double dies, ultra-sharp details, or unusual strike pressure, but here's where it gets even stranger. The U.S. Mint didn't use mint marks in 1967. They removed them as part of a strategy to discourage coin hoarding. That means all quarters from that year were supposed to look the same, yet this coin, had a different weight. A different ring when dropped. A different shimmer under light, and that's what tipped off one sharp-eyed collector. He bought it at a flea market. 50 cents. Thought it might be silver. When he weighed it, the numbers didn't match. He sent it to grading, and within weeks, his entire world flipped upside down. Not only was it authentic, it had never before seen characteristics. PCGS graded it MS68, almost unheard of for that year, and when it hit the auction block, the bids came fast. Furious. Insane. In under 10 minutes, the price had crossed $1 million, and when the hammer finally fell, $1.9 million. For a quarter. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because collectors started combing through their change like never before. Pawn shops saw a spike in 1967 quarter inquiries. Coin dealers started offering instant cash just to get a glimpse of similar specimens. Even major auction houses began quietly placing ads, saying, looking for high-grade 1967 quarters. No mint mark. Possible 7-figure value. Because this wasn't just a fluke. There were whispers of a small test batch, possibly struck using silver blanks by mistake. Others theorized it was a rogue mint employee experimenting off the record. The truth may never be fully known, but what is certain is that this coin exists. It was real. It sold. And it made one collector an overnight millionaire, and the mystery doesn't end there. A second specimen surfaced 2 years later, this time, in a rural estate sale. Found inside a sock drawer, buried beneath a pile of wartime coins, it wasn't as pristine. It had slight wear. But even in AU condition, it sold for over $100,000. The seller had no idea. It was part of his grandfather's collection. Almost tossed into a donate pile, but a coin-savvy bidder spotted the telltale signs, the unusual luster, the strike, the edge detail, and pounced. That's the kind of treasure that's still hiding in plain sight. And here's the detail almost everyone misses: the rim. The rare 1967 quarters with million-dollar potential often have a sharper rim than usual. Some even have partial reading errors, faint, inconsistent grooves that suggest a misaligned collar die. Combine that with full strike details on Washington's hair, and you might just be holding something truly special. But the story doesn't stop at errors. Even perfect condition alone can command staggering value. The 1967 quarter was mass-produced. But high-grade survivors? That's a different story, because most of these coins were used, spent, tossed. Few were saved, and fewer still have earned the ultra-rare MS68 or MS69 grade. Those few, those lucky few, have sold for tens of thousands. Some pushing 6 figures. And just one, broke all expectations, because even without silver, even without a mint mark, a perfect 1967 quarter became $1 million legend, and collectors everywhere are still searching for the next one. But here's the twist no one saw coming: a third coin, still unconfirmed, is rumored to exist. A private collector in Arizona claims to have found a second MS68 specimen. He hasn't submitted it for grading yet. He's waiting. Biding his time. Watching the market, because if the first coin hit $1.90 million, the second might go even higher. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. It's not just the mint error. Not just the grade. It's the perfect storm of mystery, scarcity, condition, and timing. That's why the 1967 no mint mark Washington quarter has become one of the most hunted coins in American history. Even seasoned dealers are stunned when one surfaces. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another's forgotten drawer became a $100,000 payday. You might be next. So here's exactly what to look for. Start with the basics. It must say 1967. No mint mark under the date. That's normal for that year, so don't discard it yet. Now, weigh it. A standard clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. But the rare error versions? They might weigh 6.25 grams, the weight of a 90% silver quarter. And next, inspect the edges. Are the reeds sharp? Are they missing in places? That could point to a color error or misstrike. Washington's hair, the eagle's feathers on the reverse. Are they razor sharp, almost sculpted? That's a sign of a high-grade strike. And finally, send it in for grading. Don't guess. Only professional certification can unlock the full value, because the difference between a $5 coin and a $1.9 million treasure comes down to tiny details most people overlook, but not you, not anymore, because now you know the truth about the 1967 no mint mark quarter, and somewhere out there, one more is waiting to be found. It could be at the bottom of a jar in your glove compartment inside your grandma's coin purse. It looked ordinary at first glance. Just another quarter from 2015, part of the America the Beautiful series, the Homestead National Monument of America. You've probably seen hundreds of them. This one held a mistake so rare, so bizarre, that even seasoned dealers couldn't believe their eyes, because buried deep in the fine details was a flaw never meant to exist. A minting anomaly so rare, it turned pocket change into a life-changing windfall. Of the 2015 Homestead quarter with the Philadelphia mint mark, a coin that thousands of people handle every day, became the centerpiece of a mystery that would rattle the coin collecting world. It all began with a single image. A collector from rural Pennsylvania posted a blurry photo online, asking, "Is this a double die? Or just wear and tear?" At first, nobody paid attention. But then, one expert zoomed in and froze, because what they saw was impossible. There weren't just two, there were four. Clear, duplicate impressions of the tiny windows on the Homestead house, stacked, slightly offset. A double die error, so crisp and shocking, that veteran graders described it as one of the most dramatic of the modern era. But that was just the beginning, because within weeks, more began to surface. Some showed doubling on the water pump, others had extra windows, some even had strange die clashes where tools and textures had accidentally imprinted bizarre patterns onto the fields of the coin. The mint had no comment, collectors were stunned, they started paying real money. Big money. One uncirculated example, preserved by sheer luck, sold for over $19,000. Another with a rare clash and doubling on the window frame fetched $46,000 at auction, but it was one specimen, graded MS68 with three major die anomalies, clash, double die, and rim cod, that broke every expectation. That one, confirmed by PCGS, was privately sold for a figure believed to be just under $1 million. This coin came from a bankroll. A roll someone picked up from their local credit union for just $10, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because suddenly, the U.S. Mint's 2015 Homestead quarter became a modern legend. Collectors started hoarding every homestead they could find. Social media exploded with posts like, "Check your change, this coin could be worth a fortune." And quietly, behind the scenes, auction houses began vetting dozens of new examples, but not all Homestead quarters are valuable. In fact, most are worth exactly 25 cents. The answer lies in three microscopic details. First, look at the windows on the Homestead. A true double die will show extra lines next to each window, especially the bottom left ones. These won't be soft or blurry. They'll be sharp, like someone etched a shadow window right into the metal. Check the water pump. The lever arm, in some rare examples, shows duplication or even a phantom outline beside it, a doubling effect so rare that only a few coins with it have ever been found. The roof. A small number of 2015 P Homestead quarters show die clashes near the roofline, ghostly, out-of-place markings where the dies struck without a planchet between them. Some even show mirror-like outlines of Lady Liberty's silhouette carried over accidentally from other coins. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, but he almost tossed it aside. He'd received it as change after buying a gas station coffee. Threw it in his truck's coin tray and forgot about it. Weeks later, while cleaning out his truck, something about the coin caught his eye. Maybe the shine, maybe just a gut feeling. He took it inside and Googled it, and that was the start of a journey that ended with lawyers, NDAs, and a life-changing payout from a private collector. But here's the kicker, nobody knows how many are still out there, because the Philadelphia Mint struck over 223 million Homestead quarters, and these rare errors? They were never supposed to happen. Some experts believe fewer than 50 true double dies with clash errors exist, others think there may be more, still undiscovered in jars, drawers, vending machines, or even lost in laundromats. The US Mint never officially acknowledged the mistakes. No recall. No explanation, just silence and a growing mystery. But what most people miss is the condition. To reach the $1 million mark, the coin must be mint state, ideally MS-67 or MS-68. That means no fingerprints, no scratches, no circulation wear, perfect luster. Razor sharp strike, handle it by the edges, only place it in a mylar flip or hard plastic holder immediately. Cleaning ruins value, then submit it to a top-tier grader like PCGS or NGC, let the experts authenticate it, and if it checks out, you may be holding a 6 or even 7-figure treasure. Scammers have started selling manipulated coins online, using acid or tools to mimic doubling. Always get your coin authenticated before you celebrate. Still, it could happen to you. You could be the next name whispered through collector forums, the next lucky person who plucks a coin from a parking meter or gas station tray and discovers a fortune hiding in plain sight. Because this isn't just about metal and mint marks. It's about hope. It's about the thrill of the hunt. It's about knowing that something incredible could be hiding in your very next handful of change. So the next time you're handed a quarter, look closer. Look sharper. You might be holding the $1 million homestead quarter. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's the kind of story that sounds like a movie. A man in Vermont grabs a bag of coins from his glove box, heads to a self-checkout, and drops in a 2020 quarter without a second thought. But that ordinary moment could have cost him a life-changing fortune, because hidden in that bag of change was a 2020 Marsh Billings Rockefeller quarter. One of the rarest, most baffling coins the US Mint has ever released. A version with a subtle flaw nearly invisible to the naked eye that turned it into a 7-figure treasure. It came from the Philadelphia Mint, one of the most common mint marks in circulation. That's what makes this so dangerous. Because millions of Americans have this exact quarter in their possession, but only a handful know what to look for. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The man who unknowingly used that quarter at a local checkout had no idea it was about to spark a wild coin hunt across the country. Hours later, another collector, digging through rejected coins at a Coinstar machine, spotted something strange. He flipped the coin over, held it up to the light, then froze there. On the reverse side, nestled within the intricate details of the tree design, was a doubling pattern so rare, even seasoned graders have argued whether it was real or mint folklore. A doubled die so subtle, so clean, it had never officially been recorded before. Collectors were stunned. Dealers started whispering. Could this be one of the mysterious misprints rumored to have escaped the mint in early 2020? The answer came in the form of a private auction held just 6 months later. One of the top coin houses in the US verified the specimen, graded it at MS-68, and it shattered expectations. Bidding opened at $150,000, but within minutes, it erupted into a battle. Phones were ringing off the hook. A mystery buyer from California entered late and doubled the top offer. Then, as jaws dropped around the room, the hammer finally came down at $1.1 million for a coin that started as pocket change. And here's where things get even crazier, because since that moment, treasure hunters have gone into overdrive. Metal detectors, estate sales, even forgotten jars of coins in attics have become the front lines of what some are calling the Marsh Billings Gold Rush. But here's the key, and it's where most people go wrong: you can't just grab any 2020 Marsh Billings quarter and expect a miracle. This exact variation only came from the Philadelphia Mint. That's the P mark right on the front of the coin. But even that isn't enough. You need to flip the coin and study the reverse, the side with the forest scene and that tall, detailed tree, because hidden in the branches and trunk is where the doubling hides. It's a textbook example of a doubled die, but unlike the famous 1955 penny where the doubling is obvious, this one is masterfully faint. You'll need a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass. Look closely at the finer details of the tree, especially where the roots and trunk meet. If you spot any sign of doubling, if the bark appears to have ghosted lines, or if the leaves seem stacked on themselves, you might be holding a fortune. And here's the wild part: even circulated versions of this error coin have been valued at $25,000 to $80,000. But if you find one in mint condition, untouched, unblemished, and graded MS-67 or above, you're looking at 6 figures. Or more. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Yours could too, and the coin world is still scrambling. Reports have surfaced of similar quarters found in New Hampshire, Maine, and upstate New York. Each time, the story follows the same pattern. Someone stumbles upon the coin by accident, gets it checked, and suddenly finds themselves at the center of a media frenzy, and with fewer than 15 confirmed examples known to exist, yes, only 15, the race is on, because here's what experts fear: thousands of these coins may have been spent, lost, or destroyed before anyone realized their value. Most people never take a second glance at quarters. But this is the one they should have checked. In early 2020, the US Mint was under massive pressure. Coin shortages, pandemic delays, and a rushed production schedule led to errors slipping through quality control. And this particular error, this doubling on the Marsh-Billings reverse, is believed to have happened during a late-night die replacement at the Philadelphia Mint. A microscopic misalignment caused the die to stamp the image twice, slightly offset, creating a hidden mirror effect within the artwork. But because the doubling was in the background, in the fine texture of the tree, it was nearly impossible to detect without magnification. Dealers are now offering 5-figure bounties for raw versions. Grading companies are giving priority slots for anyone submitting potential specimens. And the prices keep climbing, but here's where it gets real for you: this exact quarter could be sitting in your house. In a jar. In a drawer. In your car's cup holder. You don't need a treasure map, just your own change. Start by looking for the 2020 quarter with the Marsh-Billings Rockefeller National Historical Park on the back. Make sure it has the P Mint mark, that's the Philadelphia version, then study the reverse side with a light and magnifier. Look at the bark of the tree, the base near the roots, and the finer lines where the branches spread. You're hunting for ghost lines, shadowing, or doubling that looks out of place, and remember, even a tiny doubling, verified by a grading service like PCGS or NGC, could turn that quarter into a $50,000 ticket. Or, if you're one of the lucky few, into the next $1 million discovery. That's the danger. This error is so subtle, many collectors believe hundreds have slipped through unnoticed. Some have likely been spent, used in vending machines, or tossed in tip jars, forever lost to history. Don't let yours be one of them, because in the end, the coin that changed someone's life could have been yours. The 2020 P Marsh-Billings Rockefeller with the hidden doubled die has already sold for over $1 million, and it might still be out there, waiting for someone to recognize it. That someone could be you. Check your change. Check your drawers. Because the next $1 million miracle is already in circulation. It was a regular afternoon in southern Indiana. A man in his 60s, retired and living on Social Security, stopped at a local gas station. He paid for a bottle of water with some pocket change. Just quarters and dimes, nothing special, or so he thought, but one of those quarters, dull, tarnished, and overlooked, had a story to tell. A story worth $1.2 million. This is the mystery of the 2017 D. George Rogers Clark quarter. A coin that most people toss into change jars, yet collectors are now calling the sleeping giant of modern coinage. But how did a common quarter, minted in Denver in 2017, become one of the most sought-after and valuable coins in American history? The answer will shock you, because hidden in a tiny fraction of these quarters is a minting mistake so rare, so bizarre, that it defied every expert's expectations. He wasn't a millionaire, a dealer, or a coin show regular. He was just an ordinary guy, carrying spare change in a worn-out pocket, until one tiny detail on this quarter changed his life forever. But before we reveal exactly what he saw, you need to understand why this quarter exists in the first place. In late 2017, the US Mint released the George Rogers Clark quarter as part of the America the Beautiful series. It was the fifth and final design of that year. It honors the fearless Revolutionary War commander George Rogers Clark, who led a bold and dangerous march through freezing swamps to capture Fort Sackville from the British. 5 men crossing the icy Wabash River, weapons raised, determination etched into every line of their figures. But behind that powerful image, something else was happening at the Denver Mint, and most collectors never saw it coming, because as the presses rolled, pumping out millions of shiny new quarters, a rare error crept into a small batch of the Denver coins. An error so small, so hidden, that even seasoned collectors missed it for years. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. 1. Late night, a coin enthusiast from Colorado was going through his weekly rolls. He wasn't a professional, just a hobbyist. A man with a magnifier, a flashlight, and a dream, and then, he saw something. A strange doubling on the face of the coin. Not just any doubling, this was a true doubled die, the kind of flaw that only happens when the master die itself shifts ever so slightly during manufacturing. And it was right there, on the gun barrels, on the soldier's hands, on George Rogers Clark's determined face. This was no ordinary error, this was a miracle of the minting process. A once-in-a-lifetime anomaly, and when he posted it online, chaos erupted. Collectors were stunned, dealers started calling, auction houses scrambled to confirm authenticity, and within weeks, that one quarter, a 2017 George Rogers Clark with a rare double die, went to auction. It started with a whisper bid, then a flurry, then a bidding war so intense, so explosive, that when the final hammer dropped, the entire room fell silent. $1,200,000 for a coin that could've been used to buy a candy bar. But here's what most people don't know: that wasn't the only one. Experts now believe that dozens, maybe even hundreds, of these rare error coins are still out there, hiding in circulation, sitting in drawers, forgotten in glove compartments and piggy banks across the country. And yes, one of them could be in your pocket right now, but you have to know what to look for, because here's the chilling part: most people spend them without realizing, because to the naked eye, they look completely normal, but under magnification, they reveal their secret stuff. That's why every collector, every dealer, every dreamer is now hunting the 2017 George Rogers Clark quarter, not just any version, but the rarest of all, the double die obverse. And there's more. Some examples show a ghostly doubling on the reverse as well, across the watery lines beneath the soldier's boots. A subtle shimmer, like a ripple frozen in time. Others display a misaligned die clash, a rare phenomenon where faint, mirror-like outlines of the front design are accidentally stamped into the back. These variants are so scarce, so specific, that if you find the right one, it could fetch hundreds of thousands, even another $1 million payday. And just when collectors thought they'd seen it all, a second coin surfaced. This time in Florida. Found by a Navy veteran sorting coins after a yard sale, his quarter showed not just doubling, but die rotation, where the two sides of the coin are rotated slightly off axis. It's almost as if fate is hiding these treasures in plain sight, waiting for the right person to notice. But here's the twist that keeps dealers awake at night: the US Mint has never officially acknowledged the full extent of these errors. No press release, no investigation, no explanation, which makes them even more valuable, because mystery drives the market, and when the origin is unknown, the price is unlimited. So now, collectors across America are scanning their quarters, flashlight in hand, holding their breath. And if you're wondering how to spot the coin, the $1 million miracle hiding in the everyday, first, check the mint mark. It must be a 2017 D struck in Denver. And next, examine the front of the coin. Look carefully at George Rogers Clark's face, his hands, and the musket barrels. If you see even the slightest doubling, especially in fine details like fingers or facial features, take a closer look. Use a 10x loop or macro camera. If the doubling appears crisp and distinct, not fuzzy like a shadow, you might be holding a genuine double die. And now flip the coin. Look under the soldier's boots for unnatural lines or ripples in the water. These could be signs of reverse doubling. Finally, hold the coin upright and flip it vertically. If the reverse design is even slightly rotated from the front, you may have a die rotation error, another extremely valuable trait. But beware, counterfeits are emerging. Never clean the coin, never polish it, and if you suspect you found one, consult a reputable third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC before selling, because this is no ordinary coin. This is a coin that changed lives, that shocked the world, that turned forgotten pocket change into $1 million miracle. It had been sitting in a dusty jar for years, a plain-looking 1990 Washington quarter with a Philadelphia mint mark. Nothing flashy, no shiny proof finish, no gold plating, just an ordinary coin, or so it seemed. But when it finally landed in the hands of a sharp-eyed collector, something didn't add up. The edge looked different. The weight felt ever so slightly off. And the sound it made when tapped, it rang in a way no regular quarter should. What he discovered next shocked the entire coin world, because this wasn't just any 1990p quarter. It was a ghost from the mint's darkest chapter, a mistruck rarity so scarce, so quietly covered up, that even seasoned dealers thought it was a myth. But it was real. And it was worth $1.30 million. The story of this coin begins in late 1989, when the Philadelphia Mint was preparing new dies for the upcoming year. Production schedules were tight, pressure was high, and mistakes were inevitable. Somewhere during the die creation process, a batch of experimental planchets, test coin blanks, were accidentally mixed in with the standard cupronickel quarter stock. These planchets were never meant for circulation. Some say they were silver-based, others whisper they came from a cancelled commemorative project. But they weren't ordinary, and they weren't supposed to exist. Maybe just a few dozen of these rogue coins slipped through the cracks. Minted with the 1990p dies and released quietly into circulation. The mint never acknowledged the error publicly. No recall. No warning. Just silence. Collectors had no idea what to look for until one man, years later, would unknowingly break the silence with a quarter he found in his change at a diner in Delaware. He was a truck driver. Not a numismatist. Not a professional collector. But he liked the feel of coins. He'd keep the odd ones. And one day, he held this 1990p quarter up to the light and saw something strange. The edge shimmered with a silvery hue, not the usual copper ring. Curious, he weighed it on a pocket scale, 6.1 grams. That was too heavy for a standard quarter. He called a local coin shop. Then another. No one could explain it. Until a third dealer, an old-timer, gasped when he saw it and said, "This might be one of them." That question would take the coin on a journey across the country, through specialists, graders, and eventually, to the doors of a major auction house, and that's where the world first heard of the $1 million 1990p quarter. The bidding started low, just a few $100s. Some in the room laughed. Then it jumped to 10,000. 20. 50. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. An anonymous phone bidder from California drove the price into the stratosphere, 6 figures, then 7. When the final hammer dropped, the room was silent. $1.3 million, for a single quarter. A record-breaking price. A once dismissed coin now immortalized as one of the rarest quarter-dollar errors ever discovered. And yet, what makes this story even more unbelievable is that no one knows how many more are still out there because the mint never released a statement. No records were kept. These rogue quarters could be hiding in old jars, in forgotten drawers, in cash registers across the country, and unless you know what to look for, you'll miss it. Check the edge. A regular Washington quarter from 1990 should have a visible copper band around the edge. If yours is completely silver-colored, with no copper showing, that's your first red flag. Second, weigh it. A normal quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. But these rare specimens? They tip the scale around 6.1 grams. That tiny difference is everything. Third, the sound. Tap it lightly on a glass surface. If it rings like a bell, clearer and purer than any other coin, your heart should start racing. And finally, the surface detail. These quarters tend to have an unusually sharp strike. Washington's hair will appear more textured, the date more defined. That's because the mysterious planchets were denser and reacted differently under pressure. Some fakes have started circulating. Dealers are on high alert. Scammers have begun electroplating common quarters in silver to mimic the look. So before you start celebrating, get it tested. A reputable coin grading service like PCGS or NGC can confirm it with X-ray fluorescence and metallurgical analysis. Collectors were shocked when this first one was authenticated. Dealers scrambled. Search parties began combing through quarter rolls from 1990. Treasure hunters started scouring estate sales, vending machines, even old piggy banks. This isn't just about a coin. It's about a dream. A chance to turn the most ordinary thing in your pocket into life-changing wealth. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Think of all the quarters you've spent over the years, that dingled in your car's cup holder, that paid for a parking meter or a soda. What if one of them was the key to a 7-figure fortune? There may be less than 10 of these 1990p quarters in existence, and every expert agrees at least a few are still out there, sitting quietly, waiting to be found. Take a moment. Grab your change jar. Look for that date. 1990, look for the P mint mark just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Check the edge. Weigh it if you can. Listen closely, because this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.